Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Pittsburgh Steelers expected to make changes to coaching staff. Mike Tomlin is expected to return for the 2025 season, but that does not mean the Pittsburgh Steelers will stand around and do nothing. Jerry Dulock of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says the Steelers plan to change their coaching staff this offseason. He did not state who might be threatened, but changes will come. Changes among the coaching staff are likely to be expected, but the defense is basically devised and managed by Tomlin even though Terrell Austin is the defensive coordinator, Dulock said. Austin could be one of the coaches on the outs. Another candidate that makes sense is offensive line coach Pat Meyer. However, beyond those two coaches, it is unknown how the Steelers will try to mix up the coaching staff. On top of some coaching staff changes, the Steelers will change significant roster spots. The Steelers have to flip this around as much as they can, even after an offseason in 2024 that showed a world of change result in nothing but the same result as 2023. Mike Preston, Ravens' glaring weakness is still a major problem. The Ravens were successful in almost every phase in beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, 28-14, in Saturday night's AFC wildcard game, but pass coverage in the secondary is still a primary concern. Pittsburgh had touchdowns passes of 30 and 36 yards in the third quarter to pull within two scores with 3:24 remaining in the third quarter at M&T Bank Stadium. Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson completed 20 of 29 passes for 270 yards and finished with a passer rating of 121.3. That's disturbing. Their offense came in the second half, and they made some plays, Ravens coach John Harbaugh said. They hit us on 3 third downs. They found the weakness in the coverage, and we didn't play it quite perfectly. We have to chase perfection and play those things a little better. But they made those plays, and then, those throws up the sideline, they were just great throws and great catches. Those were well-covered plays, and they made them. That's a really good football team, and it's a really good win for us. Pittsburgh has lost 5 games in a row, so the Steelers aren't a really good team. Lost among the euphoria of the Ravens' offensive line beating down a talented Steelers front 5 and both quarterback Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry running wild was the fact that the Ravens' coverage got exposed again. It wasn't as bad as it was earlier in the season, but the Steelers aren't exactly the Cincinnati Bengals either. Wilson is no Joe Burrow and George Pickens isn't in the same class with Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. The next 2 matchups might include quarterbacks Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. On Saturday night, it was amazing that Pittsburgh didn't go after cornerbacks Brandon Stevens or Tre'Davious White early in the game. Those two, and to a degree rookie Nate Wiggins, have struggled all season, but Pickens had only 1 catch for 8 yards in the first half. You'd figure the Steelers would get Pickens involved early in the game, but that didn't happen until they trailed, 21-0, at the half. That's when Pittsburgh went into attack mode and Van Jefferson beat Stevens over the top for the 30-yard touchdown pass. About 5 minutes later, Pickens beat Wiggins for a long touchdown. It wasn't so much that they got beat, but watching safety Kyle Hamilton lifting up his hands as if to quietly ask, how can Stevens get beat like this again and again? Stevens often has great position, but never turns around to locate the ball. With White, he is 29 and near the end of his career. The Ravens didn't acquire him until early November, so they knew what they were getting and hoping for the best. As for Wiggins, he'll become a good cornerback but is still too handsy, which means he hasn't made the adjustment yet from college to the NFL. The Ravens have made improvements on the back end since the beginning of the season, but they couldn't have gotten worse. They made moves by putting Hamilton deeper in coverage rather than near the line of scrimmage and starting fellow safety Darius Washington over Marcus Williams. Overall, though, the Ravens were still ranked number 31 in pass defense, allowing nearly 245 yards per game. They really haven't played a good passing team in more than a month with a schedule that has included Pittsburgh twice, the Los Angeles Chargers, Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, Houston Texans, and Cleveland. Even Browns quarterback Bailey Zappe started targeting Stevens last week. The schedule will get tougher against Allen and Bills receivers Amari Cooper and Khalil Shakir, as well as Mahomes and his receivers Marquise Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster and tight end Travis Kelce. Chiefs coach Andy Reid's game plan always focuses on matchups. Maybe it's nitpicking, but the Ravens need to improve in two areas right now. They need to find a punt returner who can handle the ball and get better in coverage. They'll be fine if their next opponent is Buffalo, because the Ravens' running game will help neutralize Allen. Steelers fans clown Mike Tomlin and demand firing. Among active coaches, only Andy Reid has more regular season wins than Mike Tomlin. Tomlin is 12th all-time with 183 regular season wins, all with the Pittsburgh Steelers. In his 18-year career with the Steelers, the team has never finished below .500. And yet, many fans of the Steelers are clowning the coach and are done with Tomlin. The Steelers have made the playoffs 12 times under Tomlin, including a Super Bowl 43 victory. Over the last 7 years, the Steelers have finished between 8 and 10 wins 6 times, and haven't won a playoff game since 2016. This is where the fans' frustration with Tomlin truly reaches its boiling point. While many teams would welcome Tomlin with open arms, Steelers fans are frustrated with Tomlin's seeming inability to get them over the hump. The Steelers once again failed to win in the playoffs on Saturday night, dropping their wild card game to the Baltimore Ravens 28-14. The Steelers surrendered 299 rushing yards, unable to stop anything on the ground, and were only able to sack Lamar Jackson once. On offense, the Steelers were able to move the ball well in the air, with Russell Wilson throwing for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. The ground game was non-existent for the Steelers, only rushing for 29 yards on 11 attempts. The Steelers' hand was forced to a strictly aerial attack after entering the second half down 21-0. The Steelers started this season 10-3, but ended the regular season on a 4-game losing streak that extended its way into the playoffs, culminating in the Steelers dropping their last 5 games of the year. If the Steelers were to part ways with Tomlin, one of the most successful coaches of the millennium, there aren't many experienced options available. They'd likely have to hire a coordinator with no head coaching experience or opt for an experienced outcast such as Ron Rivera or Rex Ryan. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Mike Tomlin? Leave your opinion in the comments.